Hello, my name is Kristen Amundson. The nonprofit organization that I worked with was Time Slips. So first of all, what is Time Slips? Time Slips was founded as a nonprofit in 2013. Their programs work to use creativity to connect with elders. And they work with different care homes to kind of reach out, especially during like difficult times like right now with COVID and everything. So one of their biggest volunteer initiatives is the Postcard Challenge. Timeslip's Postcard Challenge is a volunteer initiative centered around conversations through postcards. Timeslip's website includes many ideas for interesting and thoughtful questions. These questions are fairly open-ended. They're meant to spark creativity instead of have maybe one concrete answer. So starting out and creating these postcards, I initially attempted to create my own postcards. This didn't work out very well. I quickly kind of scrapped that idea and I just moved on to working on pre-cut postcards. It was much easier and much less frustrating. I experimented with several different mediums, including marker, ink wash, colored pencil, and collage, kind of trying to figure out what the best method was. I tried to work 3 hours per week with some fluctuation, but mostly that. Some challenges that I ran into while working, the largest challenge was just starting off, kind of trying to find the best methods and the best mediums and the best format. It was a lot of trial and error starting out. A few of my initial postcard attempts were unfortunately unusable just due to either materials kind of bleeding through the paper or just they didn't look very good. So there's kind of a little bit of frustration with that, but I think eventually I came to a good sort of method. Another challenge was finding a balance of style. I worked through a couple different ones. I wanted to create something that wouldn't feel too childish, which I think was a problem initially. So I kind of moved on to a more collaged appearance for my postcards in my final batch, which I think turned out a lot nicer. And then these are some of my final results. I'm still working for the next couple weeks to create the final postcards, but this is essentially a sample of what I have for my finals. Kind of focusing mostly on collage with most of them, but colored pencil for other ones. Those were the two methods that I found worked best. And then on the back, having a little greeting along with kind of leading into one of these kind of open-ended questions for discussion. So conclusions. So far I've created 13 completed postcards. I plan to send out the postcards after all service hours are completed so that I have a big batch of postcards that I can send out to different facilities in the area. One idea that I had to kind of streamline the process of creating these postcards would be just to maybe scan some of my favorite ones and maybe create the postcards digitally so they're easier to reproduce. This would make it easier to just print out postcards rather than making each one individually. So that way I could send out more postcards to different facilities. I do think this kind of takes out some of the individuality of it though. So that's something that I might consider going forward. I'm not quite sure. So my service idea was kind of building off of what the postcard challenge has already accomplished. I found it kind of interesting that Time Slips didn't have any way for elders to write back for their these open-ended questions. They do say that you can create or you can provide a return address with the or so they can send postcards back. but I thought maybe it would be interesting if there was some kind of discussion forum, which could allow them to kind of talk amongst themselves and kind of more people to interact with these questions and provide feedback. I believe this could really create a sense of community. I think it could really bring more people together, because it could be more people like seeing these postcards and answering these questions. Some risks and challenges with this, though. Probably the biggest challenge would be just the access to the internet, which I know not all older people have. Not all older people are very tech savvy, so some may have some difficulty accessing these forums. One way that I thought to kind of mitigate that was to have an actual physical discussion group in the care home. I think maybe that would be useful. However, this would fall more to the individual care home, and it's not something that could really be monitored too well. So that is one challenge. So, reflections and impact. So, art therapy has been proven to be helpful to many elders. While these postcards are not necessarily art therapy, they do encourage creativity and create an outreach to people who may not be getting as many visitors in this last year for obvious reasons. While in-person visitation may be difficult or impossible at the moment, these postcards are like starting conversation with these people who may otherwise be somewhat isolated. My hope for these postcards is that they'll start a meaningful conversation and encourage thoughtful discussion within these care homes.